You're in a
Very well done, sir.
Precious.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the entertainment headquarters and welcome to a very special live stream. This is my Lord of the Rings Hobbit special. And joining me, I have three amazing guests: Mr. Anthony Jordan of Movies and Gaming, Mr. Tony of the Dead, and of course, Jedi Velle. So, as you've seen from the intro there, we are here to talk all things Middle Earth. Or should we say anything Peter Jackson? Because this is Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings trilogy. So, let's ask the question we always ask. But first, before we do, let's check out in the audience tonight watching us. We have Mr. J.R.R.
It's the referee himself.
Yes. Then we have Sister Sarah, my flock. Welcome. We have Kaiju Ricky.
Ricky.
And Coyote 000. He's a fan of smog.
Okay.
And then we also have Mr. Tony the Dead.
Hey, what's up?
Yeah. What's up, Tony? Nice to see you.
Good-looking bastard.
Right.
Yes. So let's ask the question we always ask Mr. Anthony Jordan. Can you remember your first time? Obviously, what The Lord of the Rings is a much loved fantasy novel and has huge fans around the world. But can you first remember hearing about Peter Jackson's introduction to or first announcement of The Lord of the Rings?
I remember hearing some rumblings, maybe 1999, somewhere around there. And just, I knew of the books, but didn't know anything about it, but thought that those might be some fun movies. And just, I kind of forgot about it till 2001 when they started showing the trailers, and unfortunately not a movie I got to see in theaters because I didn't live close to the theater at the time and no way to get there. But about September of that year, I got to rent it on video and I was blown away.
Yes. Mr. Tony the Dead.
I know I saw all these in a theater because I don't remember if I saw Lord of the Rings in a theater, to be honest, but I know I wanted to see these because I saw the Lord of the Rings movies. And so I was like, I have to go see this one. And I just remember liking it. You know, I never read any of the books, so going into it was just like the movie for me, you know. But yeah, it's just whatever opening weekend was, I went to it.
Yeah. Mr. Jedi Velle.
Yes. I first heard about the announcement of these films. Actually, I heard the announcement in front of a trailer. I mean, in front of before the beginning of a mention of film that I mentioned earlier on before we started, Dungeons and Dragons, where they showed a long trailer, or I should say, showing the titles that were coming out the year following, and they said Fellowship of the Rings, The Two Towers, and The Return of the King. I was like, damn, you mean they're going to actually do this? They're going to show these films back to back, year after year, So I was like, okay. And I've heard about, like I said, a year before that announcing about this, but I was kind of like hesitant about it, because I knew Peter Jackson was and everything. And the fun fact about this is not the first interpretation of The Lord of the Rings. I'm pretty sure you know this.
Yeah.
Yes, there was an animation version of it that was done back in the 70s that was just called Lord of the Rings,
Yeah, and there was an animated movie of The Hobbit as well.
Yeah. Exactly.
Which was more kid friendly, I believe, The Hobbit, which came out after the 1970s Lord of the Rings.
Right. So
But,
not the first interpretation, but these films, and I saw all three in the theater, and like what Tony said, like Anthony said too, I was totally blown away by the execution of these films, and I'm just like, wow, that shows they took a lot of pride and effort in making these things.
Yes. So, The Lord of the Rings is a trilogy of epic high fantasy adventure films directed by Peter Jackson, based on the novel The Lord of the Rings by the English author J.R.R. Tolkien. The films are titled identically to the three volumes of the novel, The Fellowship of the Ring, The Two Towers, and The Return of the King, produced and distributed by New Line Cinema, with the co-production of Jackson's Wing Nut Films. The films feature an assembled cast combining established and younger actors.
Yes.
And obviously, we know the cast, we know these films. So let's get cracking and talk about The Fellowship of the Ring.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, by the way, I just remembered I did read The Hobbit.
Oh, nice.
I did read The Hobbit.
My favorite book, actually.
Oh, cool. Big Bad.
Go. Thank you for joining us.
But I did not read anything else. I do remember reading. If I read the whole thing, I don't remember, but I did read a lot of it.
Yes. But
Sorry,
I've
go
never,
ahead.
no, the only, I guess the only book I did read The Hobbit and I read the first Lord of the Rings. I never went back to the other two, but I wish I had now.
They're great, but they are very hard reads.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yes. So the first film, the plot basically is you see this, amazing start, which tells you the history of, Middle Earth and how in the Dark Ages, basically, you had this character known as Sauron who produced 9 rings for men, rings for the dwarfs, rings for the elves, but he had the Ring of Power to basically take control of all of Middle Earth. And there was an epic war, an epic battle between the elves, the dwarfs, and the humans against Sauron and his heathen of orcs and, all of those evil twats that worked for him. Isn't he a lovely man?
He's a very lovely man.
I
And
can
I
tell
don't
you
know.
that.
I don't know if you guys even noticed this. I mean, if you've ever seen it was in the theatrical cut, but in the Zack Snyder cut, the battle for Earth in terms of against Dark Side and everything, it always reminds me of this at the beginning of Fellowship of the Ring, where they all gather up, men, elves, all of them together to fight this one common enemy. And I'm wondering if that's what Snyder did. Did he get influence from this film in order to do that epic particular sequence in
I
his
think the Lord of the Rings, see this. There's certain films. There's 1 or 2 films every generation that becomes epic, becomes legendary, that will inspire films for years to come. So you have the Star Wars, which changed the generation. For me, the generation I grew up, it was Jurassic Park. I never felt this epic or felt this excited for a film after I seen Lord of the Rings. And I was like, it was like going to like the Avenger films. I was so excited because of the Lord of the Rings, the first one. I had to see the Two Towers. I had to see Return of the King. And then, of course, they brought Star Wars back. But it just never felt the same after the originals. And then since then, the next big buzz for me personally was the build-up of the MCU for the first 10 years up to Infinity War. Amazing storytelling, amazing world building. Now, superheroes, MCU, DC, kind of been there, done that, got the t-shirt, I want something new and fresh. And at the time when Lord of the Rings came out, for me personally, it was new and fresh.
Yeah.
And
With the techniques they had with them available to do some of the things that they did, it's like it was breaking ground.
Yeah.
And we also had at the same time we kind of had like the Matrix coming out too, or was out.
I mean, the Matrix came out, but 2 sequels came out.
Yeah, but the Matrix as well was different. It was unique.
Which also had what's his name from Lord of the Rings in, so it was like, oh my god, this guy's awesome.
Right?
Yeah.
It's like Mr. Smith is, I mean, not Mr. Smith, but Agent Smith is in there. It's like Mr. Anderson, It's like,
yes.
So with the first Lord of the Rings, it starts off with the epic battle. Sauron is defeated by I forgot his name, but he is like the head of
Isildur.
Isildur, who is Aragorn's father, I believe. He becomes kind of like what they do in Game of Thrones. He became like the Mad King. He became basically like obsessive with the ring, because when Sauron died, his spirit in aura ended up in the One Ring, the Ring of Power, and anybody who wields the One Ring, it basically possesses them and turns them evil. And it turned Isildur kind of into this villain who then met his end, and then the ring disappeared and was lost for hundreds of years. We then spout forward and we end up in the Shire, where we're introduced to Bilbo Baggins, Frodo Baggins. And, this is long before, The Hobbit, we're doing these in order as they come out.
Mhm.
So, the Shire, we're introduced to the Shire. We're then introduced to Gandalf the Grey, the wise wizard, who has a connection to Bilbo Baggins, Frodo Baggins' father, figure, like his uncle. And basically, he goes to visit Bilbo because before he'd seen the Hobbits, there's a connection there. And he's kind of always hovering over him, or always kind of looking in on him because of the events that happened in the Hobbit. We're then introduced to Frodo, who, as you know, Frodo basically is like the lovely nephew of Bilbo, and things transpire when Gollum is being tortured by the ringwraiths in the Nazgul, and basically reveals that the One Ring is being hidden probably in the Shire. And this is what starts off the whole barrel of event where Frodo, Bilbo then gets taken away. He obviously goes to Riverdale to be with the elves. And in the meantime, Gandalf investigates because he knows there's a sense in the air that something's happening. And he then discovers by reading the texts that basically Sauron has returned, or is slowly returning, and that his forces are slowly rebuilding, and that we're heading to war eventually. And so not Bilbo, see, I'm going to get confused. Frodo now becomes basically the ring bearer.
Yes.
And he goes to the Prancing Pony, meets the ring wraiths when he's there. These are the ring wraiths, creepy little fuckers.
Yes.
But once he's there at the Prancing Pony, he then meets the Strider, who is like the Marshal of the Lands, who is secretly Aragorn.
Mhm.
And Aragorn, helps the Hobbit, Sam, Pippin, Mary, and Frodo escape the ringwraiths, and takes them to Riverdale. And this is where they have this council with Gandalf, the Elrond, the leader of the elves, and there's a summit. So the dwarfs come, so Gimli goes, and then Legolas, who is like the elven prince, who happens to be probably one of my all-time favorite characters.
Because he's badass.
Yeah, he is.
He obviously gets summoned to Rivendell, which obviously leads to the council, where they form the Fellowship of the Rings alongside Boromir.
And the two other hobbits that tag along.
Yeah, so Mary, Pippin, Sam, and Frodo are the four hobbits.
Yeah.
Then you have Gimli the dwarf, Legolas the elf, Strider, or aka Aragorn, and Boromir, who is from Gondor, I think.
Yeah, son of the Steward.
Son of the Steward, basically come together to obviously become the Fellowship to protect Frodo in the ring, which then takes him on this long adventure across the rest of Middle Earth for the foreseeable of that particular movie. Other plot points is Gandalf goes to his, Saruman the Wise, who's like a fellow wizard, who then reveals he's been corrupted by Sauron. We are then, we'll go on an adventure through the mines of Moria, where we take on the Balrog and the many orcs. And the film ends where there's a fight between the remaining members of the Fellowship and, of course, the Uruk-hai which is the group of orc-like creatures that are sent by Saruman to try and capture the One Ring, and basically ends with Boromir's death. Frodo and Sam then go their separate ways from the rest of the Fellowship. Pippin and Merry end up on their own, and then of course it's Legolas, Aragorn, and Gimli. So it's like a huge separation by the end of this film.
Yeah.
So, with that plot said, what's your opinion of the first film in the Lord of the Rings trilogy? We'll start with Jedi.
Well, I feel that's why I'm glad. See, when you tell a story like this, you got to not tell it in a short amount of time. You got to really expand it out, which is why I'm glad it's a 3-hour long, literally a 3-hour long movie. You structure the characters, you structure the story where it's going, and you see where everything is lined up and everything. So to me, this is well played out in terms of how they structured these things from the beginning of where the ring became what was made for, what Sauron is, or whatever, to this ending where, when we see Boromir get hit with 3 fucking big arrows stuck in him. I mean, this is just another one of Sean Bean's list of getting killed in some kind of fashion or form, whatever. And he's laid down flat, and everything. But knowing that they formed the Fellowship, but even though one dies, they still make a pact to say, okay, we got to protect the one who's the ring bearer, which is Sam, and continue on. And I know when I saw this, it's like, oh man, I want more. I wish this would be shown, a week from now or something like that. But I realized, like, you got to be patient, wait another year, and when you see it again, it'll pick right up where we left off and go from there.
Yeah,
it's a well-structured story.
What about Mr. Tony of the Dead?
I think it's one that I go back to the most. Is definitely the original. It's probably my favorite one.
Bingo! It's my mom's favorite.
Yeah,
my mom can watch the first one and then not watch the rest. She's just obsessed with the Fellowship of the Rings.
Yeah. It's just like Jedi said, like the storytelling is great. Like if you watch the extended version, you get a little more of the beginning. If you want more than 3 hours, that's up to you. But
right,
it shows a little interesting, like when he loses the ring and it falls into the water and that. It's but yeah, the introduction of like the hobbits, because like I love when they introduce the Shire. Even in the Hobbit, when you first see it, it's like, oh man, I love that place. I just want to live there. Like if I had the money, I knew I had the know-how, I would just I'd make that, man. All you need is a hill. And, well, I mean, that's all you need, but like, get a big hill, you could have the biggest house you ever made in your life. But I don't know. It's just such a good story, and I feel bad for people that say it. They think it's boring. It's one of the best story. It's probably one of the movies that's the longest that I keep that I could go back to, like whenever. Like if it's on, I put it on.
The thing is, it's one of them stories that it starts off slow, but it keeps building up and building up and building up. Then you get to the end, and you're like, and then it ends the way it doesn't. I want to know what happens next. And that was the great thing about Peter Jackson's direction. He was great with character building, and he did it in such an amazing way. Like, I don't think there is the odd character that is annoying and you don't care for as much as other, but I generally think that the majority of the characters in this are likable.
Yes,
and they've all got their own purpose. You know what I mean? Each character in the Lord of the Rings, no matter how small their task is, they've all got their own purpose. Like, for example, Merry and Pippin, like especially Merry.
Pippin. Pippin's the one. Let me just say, please, I gotta say, Pippin is one annoying little twat because he just
Twat.
he just fucks up like it's like he's doing that on purpose, or his brain is not wired up like everything else. I had to put that out there.
But he more than makes up for it in the subsequent films.
True, which is why I'm glad he does.
Precisely, Anthony. Like that's what I like. Like he was annoying in the first one, but then he finds his purpose in the second one. He's still a little bit annoying in the second, especially when you watch the extended cut and he had the eye that Sauron had, and he picks it up and he basically that Saruman had.
Yes.
And he opens it, and the next thing you know, he's basically let them know where they are.
Even that kind of inadvertently helped them because it led Sauron in the wrong direction to look for the ring.
Precisely. But Gimli and Legolas' friendship that slowly starts to build. It's like a friendly rivalry that turns into a friendship. You know. But Anthony Jordan, your overall opinion of the first film?
It's a phenomenal movie. It starts out just a great setup, then it shows you something just beautiful and serene in the world before showing you the threat that is going to overwhelm it all if nothing is done. And like everyone said, the way it introduces the character, even the annoying characters have purpose, and it's just, despite having a kind of dark ending, it's also very optimistic, and I think it's something that really, like, I wouldn't say contributed to the success here in the States, but made the movie all that more impactful, because just a few months prior was September 11th, 2001. So to have a movie with a bleak ending that still says there, just because it looks bad doesn't mean there isn't hope, because there is. Like, I think that actually kind of impacted with American viewers in a way it wouldn't have if it wasn't for a...
I was going to say, the way the film ends, it ends in one way with the bleak ending, with the death of Boromir. The Fellowship of the Ring are separated. They go their own ways, but it ends with hope.
Right. Because I think
I thought that was a great way to end it.
Yeah, because I was going to say, I mean, I know this film. The books came. The books came out way before Star Wars did, but it's almost feeling like a sense of what Star Wars was doing when, presenting. Okay, they're up against a very, just incredible force, incredible threat, but they still stick by, knowing that there's hope to defeat this particular evil. If they stick by with everything I go through.
That's why I don't get how people don't like, Lord of the Rings when they like Star Wars. It's like the same kind of storytelling, except, this one's longer. But like, isn't Star Wars like 2 hours longer, or like New Hope? I forget.
If someone said to me, would you rather watch the Star Wars or Lord of the Rings? I'm picking Lord of the Rings.
That's
absolutely me. Every day.
Oh, I don't know.
I know, like you mentioned Gimli and Legolas. Like, I know some people now like to say some not so favorable things about Tolkien, but if you look at Gimli and Legolas and what he wrote for them, that tells you all you need to know about his philosophies.
It's like
he fought in World War II. I think was it World War I? World War I. Yes, I'm sorry.
In the trenches.
Yes, he fought, so he understands about these things, about war and conflict and everything. So it makes sense that he would write it that way.
Yeah. So a year after the release of Lord of the Rings, they took a massive gamble that it would, be a hit. Peter Jackson took, New Line Cinema took a huge gamble. Peter Jackson, no one kind of had faith in him, but because he was a huge fan of the novels and knew the material, he was cast as director. And then even John Rhys Davies, before the first film, The Fellowship of the Ring was released, he was doing an interview, and Peter Jackson was there, and he turned around and he went, I have never worked on such an epic film where everything was so precise, everything was crucial to film me. You went, I guarantee you this film is going to make more than Star Wars at the box office. Apparently Peter Jackson put his hands in his head and went, why have you said that, John?
It's like you've cursed us, my man.
Yes, but guess what? It actually did beat Star Wars at the box office.
Yeah.
Because it was the same year Phantom Menace came out, or
no, it came out. No, Phantom Menace came out 2 years before this.
So it must have been the Clone Wars. It was one of the films
before the Clone Wars.
Yeah, Clone Wars came out the year with Towers.
So Lord of the Rings made more money at the box office than the Clone Wars.
Yeah,
or at least beat them at the box office.
I think they did, if I'm not mistaken, because the Clone Wars was okay.
But next we have the Two Towers. So the story of the Two Towers is basically carries on after the event of the Fellowship of the Ring. Frodo and Sam are heading to Mordor to try and destroy the ring. You've got Legolas. You've got Gimli, and you've got Aragorn, who end up in what's the name of that? Not Gondor. What's the other? Rohan. They end up going to Rohan, which is more like a country-esque mountainside town where they're trying to, convince the king and the Rohirrim to join forces against the Two Towers, the union of the Two Towers, which is, of course, Saruman and Sauron, which is the reason the film is called The Two Towers, because it's about the union of these two evil forces that have joined together. And then, of course, you've got Merry and Pippin, who were captured by, of course, the orcs, who are about to be fucking eaten. Or saved by the Rohirrim, which is weird, they're actually saved by the Rohirrim, without them knowing. And they end up wandering in this forbidden forest and meet the Ents, the tree-like creatures, who the lead Ent is actually also voiced by John Rhys Davies, who plays Gimli.
I love the character too.
Those guys, the Ents are so, I love them. It's like one of my favorite things of this movie.
Yeah,
Treebeard. Treebeard's so cool.
And of course, I did forget to mention Gandalf the Grey.
He's riding
to save the rest of the Fellowship in, obviously, the Fellowship of the Rings. He sacrificed himself.
But I have to say, I love this opening sequence. I mean, you see the continuation of him falling, and I'm just like, man, I'm love. This is what you say. This is how you get yourself right. I mean, built back up. I mean, you take a little note to say, okay, this happened at the first one. Now it's like, what happens when he's dealing with, and he's beating the shit out of the Balrog. It's like, damn, he's actually killing it. And you see him falling from wherever it's coming down. It's like, I love this moment. It's just a beautiful. Like,
so the opening of this is epic. Where the basic opening of the Two Towers, it starts back in the Mines of Moria, where you see after the event of Gandalf falling to his death to the Balrog. And of course, you see the epic mid-air flight as they're falling deeper and deeper into the mines. And Gandalf apparently meets his end, but he's resurrected to Gandalf the White.
The White, yes.
And so we see his resurrection and now how he's now become wiser, more knowledgeable, and becomes, quite frankly, just... For me, he's just epic. I just love Ian McKellen in this film. Like, I know everyone will. This will probably be the main thing he's remembered for.
I mean, you can say he's known for Magneto, but I don't know. But I think this role he played here is just as or more.
And this one also introduces two of my favorite characters, Theoden and Faramir.
So this is a list of characters that we see throughout the trilogy. You've got Sam, you've got Boromir, you've got the elf kind of prince, you've got Aragorn, Arwen, Frodo, Elrond, Gandalf, Gimli, Legolas, Sauron, Galadriel. Oh, my mind's went blank. What's he called again, Anthony? He is.
The King of Rohan.
Yeah, it's Therodon, isn't it?
There.
Yeah. Yeah.
We'll forget.
Owen, and then you've got Sauron, you've got Bilbo, you've got the prick.
That's exactly who he is, a prick.
And
Yes.
the good son.
Mhm. And then you've got the prick son, who Boromir's brother, who I really had a lot of sympathy for.
Oh, but that one scene where him and his riders capture Sam and what's his name? You know, they're in the forest, and you know, Gollum is fishing and everything. And that moment, if you see the extended cut of this film, that's a brutal moment where they beat the hell out of Gollum. I'm like, dude, that is so unnecessary, man.
And also, like, props on the fact that they somehow not only managed to cast the two perfect actors to play Faramir and Boromir, but the fact that they can actually pass as brothers.
True.
Yeah. So obviously the other remaining cast members, you've got Mary there. You've then got what is it, Wormtongue?
Wormtongue, I think it is. Wormtongue? Yes.
And then you've got
the Judge Dredd.
Yeah, Carl Cobain, Gollum, Treebeard, and then I've got little shit Pippin. A little shit Mary.
What's his name on The Boys? Carl.
I forget what his name is on The Boys.
All he does, he says this. He goes, "Cunts. They're all cunts. All of them. They're all cunts." That's all he says.
Yeah, that's.
Well, you could say twat. I can't say cunt.
You're right.
You can say the CUNT anytime, the cunts. But anyway, as the film progresses, we're then introduced after the opening. We're introduced to Gollum, who tries to he kind of interacts with Frodo, of course Sam, who instantly doesn't trust him. Over in Rohan, you have Gandalf reappears and introduces himself to Legolas, Gimli, and Aragorn, and King Theoden, who's quite stubborn, and he's trying to convince him to join the war against the two towers. At the same time, you've got the Ents, where Merry and Pippin have realised that Sauron has destroyed all of the forestry and destroyed all the land, and obviously the Ents are a peaceful race. And as we get to the end of the movie, Theoden, who has now been broke free of the trickery of Sauron through Wormtongue, decides to go to Helm's Deep to form his army to take on the forces of Sauron. The Ents finally decide, right, we're going to go against, what we generally would do, and we're going to fight Sauron in the tower. And then, of course, Sam and Frodo. Sam sees Frodo's kind of getting suckered more and more into the power of the ring, and also the manipulation from Gollum. And also Gollum shows another side of himself in the form of Smeagol, his real self. Gollum is his alter ego. But by film's end, just when you think he's getting through to Smeagol, he then gets, goes back to the Gollum persona. It's a great way of what Peter Jackson did to show, Gollum and Smeagol is two separate personalities in a person who's got some sort of schizophrenia. That's what it felt like. And then, of course, the amazing Helm's Deep battle right at the end. Just absolutely epic.
Beautiful.
And of course, Gandalf turns up and saves the day with the Rohirrim who disappeared. The Ents join Merry and Pippin to take on the Twin Towers. And I always laugh. There's one particular scene with the two towers where you see the Ents on fire and one runs into the water.
Yes, I do. I heard in a commentary about that, and that was something that was added to that scene, because it's like he's on fire, but it's like he runs into the water when it's doused like that.
I remember clearly the entire theater erupting when that happened.
I remember nothing but laughter.
Oh,
I was sitting there with my mum, and then the end, it were like with my jaws opening, watching like the water go around and burning out, and putting out all of the pits around Saruman's tower, and then you just seen this little bloody ent running towards.
It's like drown the river. Yes, free the river. And what's funny about that about the ants is that the Treebeard and the rest of them, they actually spent like hours debating on whether they should fight or not, and they said, "No, we're not going to fight." It's like, are you serious? It took y'all hours to come to that decision.
Here's kind of a fun fact about Treebeard. The character was at least partially based on Tolkien's very good friend and / another prolific fantasy writer, C.S. Lewis.
Is C.S. Lewis, is that the one that did Chronicles of Narnia?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense because they were friends, coming up. I mean, when I got introduced with the writing and everything, yeah.
So, overall thoughts of the Two Towers, gentlemen. We'll start with Anthony.
I thought it was even better than the first one. It built on everything. It just did everything the first one did and built on it, and it had, I feel, better character moments, more epic moments. Anyone that's seen this in the theater back then just remember like the Battle of Helm's Deep, being in complete awe watching this battle unfold on film and knowing that like most of it was achieved practically, and just also another great ending that's a dark ending but optimistic. It introduces two of my favorite characters in King Theoden and Faramir. Theoden, a very pessimistic character that has to find his strength, and while he doesn't lose the pessimism, he fights on in spite of it, and there's just something very inspiring about that. And Faramir, who is the unwanted son who's stuck in the shadow of his brother, who we find out his father thinks is worthless, and he's a character who is really one of the most important figures in the game because all he had to do was grab the ring from Frodo and it would have been over, but he had the courage to turn away from it.
Yeah. Love you too, Sarah. And Snox and Sass is in the house. But I love the two. I can understand why people don't like the third one, because I think I've heard a lot of people say when it comes to the next film we'll talk about that it falls flat at the end. But for me, I can understand why they potentially don't like it. But for me, it's just epic storytelling. Sometimes you have a strong start, a bigger middle, and then the final. It's not about how many explosions or big stuff, stunt. It's about wrapping the character story up, and it doesn't always have to be in a big epic way.
Yeah.
And
the Force Awakens. Perfect.
Except Game of Thrones, you fucked me over. I will never forgive you. You can fuck off and die.
There you go.
Anyway, cunts, twat. Anyway,
What?
Yes. The Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King, and this is, as you know, he's right there on the poster. It's all about Aragorn.
Yes.
So,
in fact, in the books, he actually left ribbon down with that sword. But I think for what they did for the movies, it works out that he didn't.
Yeah. So as you know, in the this film is like it's the final finale of this massive story. The two towers, the tower that Saruman occupied has been defeated. His army, his forces have been wiped out, but Sauron has his army still building in the world, in the in Mordor. You then obviously have all of the political issues going on in Gondor. You have Aragorn that finally basically accepts his destiny to be the king, the return of the king, alongside with Gimli and Legolas by his side. You have Gandalf, who obviously he wants to try and find a way to stall time to help Frodo to defeat Sauron. You then have Merry and Pippin reunite with Gandalf and everyone else in Gondor. You obviously also have the people of Rohan that join forces with the power of Gondor. Miranda Otto's character, who is that? Erwin.
Yeah.
So see, I'm just going to say this. Her role and how they did her character and the growth of her story was how you do women empowerment right.
True. Yeah.
Because she's like, it's not walk. It didn't feel forced. It felt natural and growth. You have Theoden, who joined forces with the countrymen of Gondor and Rohan against the vast armies of Mordor.
Yeah.
And at the same time as that's going on, you see Frodo succumbing more and more to the power of the One Ring.
Mm-hmm.
You have Gollum, who now has a plan, which is to take them up this dark, dirty staircase that leads them into this dark, dank, dirty place, which is revealed to be the lair of the Shelob.
Yeah.
Which I remember sitting in theatres and shitting my pants because, not literally, but
not because of the spider though.
No, I was sitting next to a big man who scared me. No, literally sitting there and seeing Shelob. It was creepy. It was eerie. Did everything that she was meant to do, make you feel uncomfortable, make you feel yuck. I would love to go to theatres of Daniel Miller and see how he would react on the big
screen. Is there like a Shelob figure you can order and just mail to him?
It's gotta be.
It'd be like a cartoon. Just see like the silhouette.
And you want to know a fun fact about this is that Peter Jackson himself, he's terrified of spiders. So when you see this scene, he was kind of like regardless, but he's like, it's necessary because that's the whole point.
Shelob was modeled after a spider called the tunnel web, which not to be confused with the Australian funnel web. And it was a spider in New Zealand that he was particularly afraid of.
Yeah.
Any spider over there I'd be afraid of. And Australia.
But like you say, this film, the plot simply is the final chapter where Sauron's armies have grown and they're about to try and take over Gondor. And if they just take over Gondor, they'll basically wipe out the rest of Middle Earth. And so you've got Gandalf, Legolas, Gimli, obviously in Aragorn, but Aragorn realizes that forces or the armies of Gondor and even the forces of Rohan combined are not going to be able to defeat the powers of Mordor. So he decides to go on one more epic journey into this forbidden place of an old kingdom where the lost souls of fallen kings and army men have presided for many, many years, and the only people that can control them is the bloodline. The bloodline of the fallen king Isildur, which happens to be Aragorn. So Aragorn is able to take control of this dead army. And with the power of Rohan, the power of Gondor, who basically are just holding the line till the dead army return with Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli, and they basically wipe out the forces of Mordor. But in return, Aragorn has to free the souls and see that their debt is paid, which he does, and they disappear back, I guess, into heaven and into eternity. They're no longer in purgatory.
Yeah.
And also, if, like, back in the day, if you thought like you were impressed with the Battle of Helm's Deep, like they completely dialed everything up here with the Battle of Pelennor Fields.
Yes.
Mhm.
Minas Tirith was, like I say, that battle was like, yeah, I think it was like Hell's Deep 3-4 times over.
Yeah, what really made the Battle of Pelennor Fields work so well is not only was it the siege on the city itself, but there was also the battle outside of the city.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Can also see in the one thing why these films are so epic is obviously there's many directors that are great at storytelling. I did a test the other day to make sure this fucking thing was gonna work. Whether I froze or fucking whatever, I don't know. But anyway, me and Walter were talking during the test, and the one thing I said during the test was, there's a difference between filmmakers and storytellers. And Peter Jackson is a storyteller. And he does everything by character building, cinematography, world building. And he has just a few. We've shown the Shire. You know, there is Gondor.
No, that's Minas Tirith. The two, yeah. That's Minas Tirith.
Yeah, but this is the Kingdom of Gondor.
Yeah, but that's a city, though. It's a beautiful, and those statues. I love that.
Name of love.
You know, yeah, right.
This is Erebor from, of course, The Hobbit.
I think it's The Hobbit. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
There's the ugly fucking ring wraiths. So, you know, like there's Rivendell.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
I love that place.
Yes.
Like just the scenery from miniatures to CGI to practical sets. He put all that money into the right places to create
CGI done the right way.
Yes.
It's
because it wasn't just CGI. Like, it was CGI, it was miniatures, it was blue screen, it was practical sets.
Some of it's split screen, believe it or not.
Mm-hmm.
Foreground angles and everything.
Yeah, so because of that, just the incredible world building just makes these films even more epic and why they're remembered. But as you know, as the plot progresses, after Aragorn has defeated the armies of Mordor, they need to kind of, after Frodo survived the Shelob attack, where then Sam is still trying to help him get into Mordor to Mount Doom to destroy the One Ring. So they need to distract them. So the armies of the Rohirrim, Gondor, and Rohan join forces, and they're standing at the gates of Mordor, where when the gates open, there's even a bigger army behind it.
Yeah.
And obviously Gollum didn't get his wish, but he's still hidden around somewhere. And this leads to the final battle between Gollum and Frodo in the power of Mount Doom. Hello there, Lightning McQueen 84. Thanks for joining us.
isn't this
Shayna.
isn't this moment almost like the Alamo kind of sequence to a degree? It's like taking a real world event where they're up against thousands of
I don't.
great threats. Go ahead, Andy.
I wouldn't say the Alamo because it's just more of a big diversion than anything.
True,
The
but I
whole
mean,
point
because
was
they're
to
smaller than them.
The whole
Yeah.
point was to just empty Mordor long enough to give Frodo a chance to get up Mount Doom.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But I was
it's
talking in terms of
basically
the amount of people.
this is the bit where Gandalf and Aragorn, Gimli and Legolas, they're doing everything just to distract the forces of Mordor, so it gives just a slim chance of Frodo to make it to Mount Doom, which he does with Sam's help, and you have that epic battle with Gollum and him, which it ends with Gollum falling into the fires of Mount Doom with the ring, with his precious, and
Yes.
meets his, end. And then you have, I mean, the next few minutes of this film are long. So, Aragorn now becomes the king of Gondor, accepts his fate with Orwen. Gimli and Legolas, I guess, stay by his side. The hobbits return to the Shire, but things are not quite the same for Frodo. So he ends up deciding to go to the
Undying
I was going to say the Undying Lands with Gandalf. Sam's left behind, where he takes the book where Frodo's been working on his own history, his own story, which he names The Lord of the Rings, which is behind another book, which was there beforehand, that was written by his uncle, which happens to be Bilbo Baggins, called The Hobbit. There and back again, an incredible journey. And so the film ends with Sam closing the door to his home in the Shire, and I walked away from the theatre just as weird as it is, happy, sad, wanting more, but also satisfied all at the same time.
Yeah.
So,
But what did you think about the movie?
Yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
fucking garbage.
Yeah.
No. And also, Mr. Tony the Dead, your thought on Return of the King?
I mean, I agree with everything everybody said. I mean, like what you said, after you saw it, you felt satisfied. But I think this is one that I go back to the least amount because part of me is like, I don't want it to end.
Yes.
No. And it is a sad ending, especially when you see Bilbo after not having the ring. It's like, holy shit, he got old. He like starting to show his true age and stuff.
I guess they don't have. I guess they don't have plastic surgeons in Middle Earth.
Nah.
Doesn't he know a wizard though?
Right.
If it's the rain, if it's going to rain, it's going to stop when it wants to stop. Something like that, whatever he says. But yeah, it's definitely all these movies have like such great battles. Even in the first one, the original one, where where they wake up the orcs and that, or were they orcs or goblins?
I think
In the caves of Moria, in the Fellowship, the goblins.
Goblins, yeah. Even when
And
that whole thing, that was awesome.
Yeah. So they're goblins, and at the end, it's the Urukai, which is like a hybrid of goblin and orc.
Right. That was too cool too. How they like dig for them, and they're like kind of like in this like cocoon type of thing, and then like they rake through, and like how they I don't know. It's just like not that we haven't said already. It just this movie is good. It's great. They're all great. The storytelling is good. I never read the books, but I'll be honest, I probably never will. I have a lot of books with a lot of bookmarks in them, like halfway through, and I never read them again. But yeah, they fantastic stories, and but yeah, this definitely probably the one I go back to the least. Same thing with like the last Hobbit movie. I liked the very first Hobbit movie the most out of those as well. So, but yeah, I mean they're
Yeah.
I don't know if you want to say timeless, but I feel like 50 years from now, people will still watch this and be like, "That's a good movie."
I agree.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Jedi Granville, your opinion of The Return of the King?
Well, this is my personal favorite of the three. I mentioned before that Back to the Future 3 is actually my favorite of the Back to the Future films, and this one is no exception. And this one is even longer than the previous two films, but it's just something about it, you know. I mean, it's just, I guess, and I'm kind of like with Tony, you know, it's something that you don't want it to end. Although, when I saw this in the theater, this is where I had a moment of with all these multiple endings, and I'm just like, okay, now I got to go to the little boy's room because I can't stand seeing all these damn endings one after another. I'm thinking that it's going to end here when they get to the Shire. Okay, when they go off to, you know, to leave Middle Earth, you know, I'm thinking like, okay, that's the end. And it's like they're still going with this, you know. So I realize in the end though that it's a perfect movie in terms of, in my opinion, how
Thank you.
epic film, because this film ended up winning 11 Academy Awards, which was well deserved in my opinion. And
Yeah.
and I can honestly say this real quick. Through these films, even though they are long based films, they do not leave you bored. You are
Nope.
always intrigued with what you're watching. That's the great thing about this. I mean, as much as some of the dialogue you may not understand, but you understand it enough to know it's like, oh, that's what they're talking about. That's what they're discussing. And it's like, this keeps you intrigued. And I'm glad that I add that enough imagination to say, hold on, because it's going to get a way more crazier as the time goes. So, yes, this film is up there, you know.
And this was the one that made the most money, and it just shows you how, if you've never seen the first one or the second one in theaters, and people just rented it out on DVD or videotape, because I think videotape was still there,
It was
just
still there.
a little bit. And you know, if you weren't renting them, if you didn't see it in theater, you'd rented the films, and then suddenly they gained an even greater audience. And so by the third movie, people are so invested that that's what put the butt in the seat in the theaters. It's the same. It's because it's great storytelling, great character building. That's why the first 10 years of MCU worked.
Yeah.
Like, that's why everyone couldn't wait to see what was going to happen at the end of Endgame, because of the amazing storytelling and world building. And it's the same thing that's happened with the Hobbits, the Lord of the Rings, the Middle Earths. Anthony Jordan, what's your thoughts on The Return of the King?
My favorite one of the three. Like, Tony, so I actually skipped school the day this came out in the theater to see the first showing of the day.
You
I
sinner.
skipped having sex.
What was better was me and the friend that went to see it, his brother worked at the movie theater, so he got us in to see it for free. And what was funny was one of the teachers was also in the same audience and given the showing time. He also would have had to skip school to see it.
Wow.
Okay.
And like it was just such a blast to see in the theater. The characterizations were great. Like, one day I want to do a video essay comparing Theoden and Denethor because of just the contrast between those two characters and how both of them react to absolute hopelessness in completely different ways.
Yeah.
And it's also kind of a personal movie to me, being a finale, because this came out during my senior year in high school. So it was just like, to me, watching this, knowing I have my own finale coming up in a few months just made it that much more personal of an experience for me.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I think these films come out at the right time for a lot of people. There's just something about them that resonates with a lot of people. And like I say, you're used to different sets. There was nothing like that what I would say was an epic franchise since this. And then I guess because of the success of Lord of the Rings, we did get Harry Potter, which exploded. Then we got Game of Thrones. And then this year we're getting The Odyssey in 2026 by Christopher Nolan, which is a fantasy film. So who knows how that's going to go. But a few years later, New Line were adamant they wanted to adapt The Hobbit, the prequel novel to The Lord of the Rings. But what they decided to do is they brought in Guillermo del Toro. It was written by Peter Jackson, Fran Walsh, his partner, and Peter Jackson was meant to only be an executive producer. And Guillermo del Toro was going to direct it, and he was going to do 2 movies. It was originally going to be The Hobbit, The Incredible Journey, then The Hobbit, then back again. But New Line wanted 3 films. And because of this, and I guess a dispute with New Line, Guillermo del Toro left the production. So they brought in Peter Jackson to be the director, who then... Oh, I was just going to say, Peter Jackson then extended the story to include new characters and managed to make 3 films out of 1 fucking book.
It should be noted, too, that this was not, because of the Warner Brothers buyout, this was not the same New Line, because Peter Jackson, to not scare New Line away, he was trying to sell the Lord of the Rings trilogy as 2 movies, and it was the head of New Line at the time that looked at him and said, why are you making 2 films? There's 3 books. You should make 3 movies. So with Warner Brothers now calling the shots, like that same freedom wasn't there, and Warner Brothers just saw the dollar signs and wanted 3 movies.
Yeah. And of course, when it comes to Guillermo del Toro, just like we've seen his Frankenstein come out earlier last month, it was his Frankenstein. It was his vision. He probably had his vision for The Hobbit.
Yeah.
And I guess things didn't go his way, so he then ended up, leaving the production. But he does have his name down as a writer or a producer on the trilogy, so he is attached to it in some form. And I do believe there is some essences of Guillermo del Toro in these films. I see elements of his work in these films.
Like the opening scene.
The which scene?
The opening scene in the first Hobbit, that does feel reminiscent of something he would have filmed.
Oh, definitely. 100%. So here we are. The Hobbit. An unexpected journey.
Yep.
So just like the Lord of the Rings, this opens up with a montage of basically talking about the kingdom of Erebor, which, there is a kingdom, the Dwarven Kingdom, where they keep mining deeper and deeper into the earth, into the mountains, where they suddenly find a crystal, which is just like the rings of power. It has kind of this possessive power to it, and it kind of seduces the kings of the Dwarven Kingdom. We are then, as they are mining, suddenly a huge dragon ascends and breaks into Erebor, and everyone abandons the mountain because Smaug is the most powerful dragon in the kingdom of Middle-earth. And so all of this is happening at the same time alongside, I guess, the events of some of the elements of Lord of the Ring films. it then spans forward to then us being in a place we've been before, the Shire. And we are introduced to Frodo Baggins. We see Frodo. It then pans out where you see Bilbo, who is still played by Ian Holmes, writing his story of the events that transpired many years before The Lord of the Rings, which is, of course, the unexpected journey. We're then, taken to the time where he's sitting outside his home. He's first introduced to Gandalf, who finds him to be a unique specimen of a creature, a person.
Good morning.
Yes. And they kind of sitting there and they're smoking the weed, Like, there's a lot of drug use goes on in these films. And this is where suddenly, as he's sitting there late at night preparing to have tea, there's a knock at the door, and we are then introduced to the dwarfs. And there's a fucking load of them. There's a load of dwarfs that basically ravage through his house.
Yes, they.
I love the fact too that he's a hobbit and he's so polite that he can't even raise his voice. And he's like, "I'm sorry, apology accepted." And then they just like do everything, and it's so funny because he's so frustrated. But he's like, "I have manners. I can't yell at them. They're guests in my house."
And the reason Gandalf has brought the dwarfs because Bilbo Baggins is a master locksmith, apparently.
A burglar.
Yes, a burglar locksmith, and they want him to join them on a journey to Erebor to reclaim the mountain so that the king of the dwarfs can regain his kingdom and save the dwarfs and potentially help Middle Earth in the long run into the future. So starts the incredible journey. The very next day, the dwarfs leave. Bilbo doesn't follow them, and then suddenly he changes his mind and he skips through the Shire till he eventually meets them. And it go on an incredible journey, as the name of the film says. They are introduced to the trolls, which we then see a glimpse of in The Lord of the Rings. We are then, introduced to the backstory of, and this is one of the elements that was added to these films. We are introduced to the backstory of, what's the name of the dwarf king with the long black hair? My mind's went blank. Is it Theoden? No, it's
Thorin.
See, all the names sound similar. We're then introduced to Thorin, who then, will get his backstory, how he clashed with the White Orc.
He's an asshole.
Yes.
Yeah. And he just looks like an asshole,
He might be a true asshole, Never know.
Why did he have to be CG?
Yeah, they could have made him a little bit more, at least detailed.
See, I think that's why these films aren't as memorable as The Lord of the Rings, because they ended up using more CGI and using more CGI effects and less practical.
Yeah.
And I think that's the biggest pet peeve with the fans of the original Lord of the Rings. But you could see the same with Star Wars.
True.
I always remember back in the day when you had the original Star Wars and then they added the extra special effects. You did a re-edit with the new effects.
Mm-hmm.
And then a lot of people were not happy that he'd altered the original movie. And then you get to the prequel films, it's nothing but CGI heavy. And then we can go to the sequel trilogy or anything in today's cinema, it's very CGI heavy.
Well, consider the times, though, when they were bringing all those out again. It's like CGI was the big thing. I mean, at least now that you know it's going to be in a movie, it might look pretty good. But I will say that is one thing about this I remember in the theater that I liked the movie, but I thought there were times where it didn't look very good.
Mm-hmm.
Like when they're running across like a field or something, I was like, that kind of looks bad. Like I could tell it's not them. While even in like Lord of the Rings or like when they're running in like through like, you know, the mountain and out like underground and stuff, and they're on the bridges and that, it looks so cool, but you know it's not really them, but like you buy it. But when
It's
I watched
because
this on 4K, yeah, honestly, it didn't look. I didn't notice that, so they must have cleaned it up a little bit.
yeah, the thing I remember about Lord of the Rings, they would film scenes on blue screen, but then what they would do is they would have shots with the giant, miniatures, but the giant miniatures. So they would do the shots of like say Ian McKellen running across a bridge towards, I don't know, the Balrog on CGI. With a blue screen, then what they would do is they would then shrink him and put him on the footage of the miniature. So he would be shrunk and it would make him look like he's actually running across a real bridge. So the footage would be the miniature itself, and the thing is, he would have been the CGI footage or him would have been shrunk down to run across the miniature, and it looked more realistic.
Yeah.
And I think the philosophy with the Lord of the Rings trilogy too was, if you can do it practically, do it practically.
Yeah, that's the problem with these films anyway. The Hobbits, because they're too CG saturated in my opinion. I mean, that's like I say, you're losing yourself. Like you're not blending the techniques that were there before with the Lord of the Rings. And so, like, why are you discarding that technique? Just focusing on that one to bring across with your stories.
Here's what makes that extra painful with the decisions made for these movies. This is my favorite book of all time. So to see the trilogy, even though I have a love-hate relationship with it, admittedly mishandled the way it was, it really stings.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to show you two things. So I'm going to show you the Shelob again.
Okay.
Hi.
Now that for me is fucking terrifying.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then we get to the Hobbit. And the Hobbit, don't forget, the Shelob was like a queen spider, so she laid thousands of eggs that ended up in the forest in the Hobbit. This is the spider from the Hobbit.
Yeah.
The CGI is okay, but compared to that,
yeah.
You want to know the sad thing about this too? This is all done by Weta. And it seemed like Weta, when they did the Lord of the Rings, where they were the top of their game, they were kings at this point. But then when you see them do this, it's like, what in the hell did y'all do?
You gotta
Wing Nut Productions is Peter Jackson's production company, and Weta Workshop is his special effects company. So obviously when he started it, he was doing things. Remember when he did things like Brain Dead and all that back in the day, all practical. Then obviously his production company does a lot of CGI for a lot of upcoming films and like future like films now. So of course he's probably had to move with time, because if a lot of studios are saying, right, I'm going to give you $250 million to do the special effects for the next Avengers film, but it has to all be CGI. But he's getting a contract with that film studio to do them effects. He's going to have to just use CGI. Where if it's his own particular movie that he's designing, putting together, he maybe has the option to say, can I use some CGI and some practical? And as Anthony, one more thing, but as Anthony's pointed out, this was different management at New Line and Warner Bros. At the time, so they might have said no practical, just CGI.
So he was up against the wall when it came to doing this.
It's like, carry on.
Let the man talk.
Movies were made. Weta was pretty much just exclusively 100% dedicated to these movies, where when these movies were made, I'm also pretty sure like it wasn't as much of a unilateral thing in-house where they were also contracted out to other movies, so it also wasn't possible to give that same level of attention.
Agreed. But also remember what I said earlier. The original director was going to be Guillermo del Toro.
Yeah.
So instead of totally scrapping these films, who's to say Warner Brothers were like, or New Line were like, right, Peter Jackson, you're taking over, but he has the stipulations.
And
Well, I still, well, again, this is an example of why I say these films. I mean, believe it or not, I only saw 2 of them in the theater, and the other one I saw on home video. I mean, this shows why I did not have. And granted, my friend that's locally, he wanted me to go see it with him and everything. Believe it or not, the first one I didn't necessarily want to see. The third one, he had to actually drag me to go see it because I'm like, I don't know, I mean, this one is. And then, like I say, I saw the the Desolation of Smeagol, whatever the fuck that dragon's name.
Smaug.
I just know that when I'm watching this, I mean, it's like, it's some promising things in there, but at the same time, it's like it's not grabbing me like what the Lord of the Rings did. It's just something about it. It's not just. It's like and I know it's based on a novel. I mean, which was a good thing, which is why I figured like the material that they have, they should have been able to bring it out, better than they did. But I feel like the technique, then again, as you mentioned before, the studio heads was in different hands at this point, so it made sense that they had their hands tied where they can only do certain things with this particular technology. But still, seemed like you should have fought. Peter should have fought more for this, in terms of that.
Yeah, but these films were sadly made though in the age of the committee versus like how the system where the Lord of the Rings trilogy was made under. So like these had the potential to be, if it was just 2 films, I think it had the potential to be just as good as the Lord of the Rings trilogy, but this was doomed the moment the studio forced it into being a trilogy.
There is some good CGI. Like I think this looks brilliant.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, not all that, and actually, I'm being kind of harsh with some things, but not all the CG is bad. In fact, some of the CG is pretty well done. But I figure like if they blended the techniques, if they had, like I say, foreground miniatures, if they had practical settings, in a sense, if they had things like that, you would have had a more believable effect. Because when you watch The Lord of the Rings, it's like, I mean, you got some like spotty little moments of effects that looks kind of hammy, but it's so blended well. Here it's just like, okay, that's okay. Yeah.
But
you get what I'm
saying.
Anyway,
this film ends where basically you have Bilbo gets the ring off Gollum. They have that competition in the like the Gollum's cave. You're introduced to the Goblin King, who died and fell down and all of that. And then obviously you have the final of this film where the White Orc chases after Thorin and the rest of the rest of the dwarfs, and then once again they're rescued by the giant eagles.
Yes.
Who I fucking love the giant. Yeah, I want a giant eagle. Can I have a pet giant eagle?
I mean,
Eagles.
Yes.
The eagles are the greatest thing in any movie to save people. I swear.
Seriously.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Absolutely love the fucking eagles.
I mean, the way they look when they come to rescue Frodo and Sam, it's like it's so graceful and beautiful.
Yeah.
So that ends the first film, and just like I think with Tony, just like with the Lord of the Rings, I think the first one's my favourite. But overall thoughts on Incredible Journey. We'll start with Tony.
Yeah, this one is one that I've gone back to a few times as well. I love Marty Freeman, right?
Yeah,
Martin
Martin.
Freeman.
Martin Freeman. I love him as Bilbo. Like, absolutely love his character. I love his mannerisms. I like being introduced to, all the crazy dwarves and that. And the only thing I rewatching this, I don't care for some of the comedic points to it, like where the Goblin King, where he's like, "That'll do it," and then he like cuts the straw. It's like, I don't think we really needed that. Or like, oh, that could have been, can't get any worse, and then he falls on them. It's like kind of like too comical for this type of movie, I thought. And I was like, all right, but it's not enough to ruin it or anything. But
Yeah.
Is it as
also,
bad? Is it as bad as this, Tony?
he eats them by the block. They're all so unique looking, which is funny. But yet, I don't know. But I also was surprised when I saw this in theater because I didn't know anything, and then all of a sudden Smeagol Gollum comes out. I was like, oh shit! And that part where he's like invisible and he could he could kill him right there. And you could see he's thinking about what Gandalf said, like, about like taking a life, and it's more of a to spare a life, whatever that speech was. And you could tell he's like, yeah, I'm gonna spare it. Not before he kicks him in the back of the head, jumping over him. That was great. But you kind of felt bad for him in that moment. He looked like so sad because he's not just such an all bad guy. But yeah, I really like it. I like the Radagast.
Radagast, yes.
Oh my god, he's awesome. Like, he's probably next to Gandalf, he's my favorite wizard.
Sylvester boy.
Yeah, except for the bird shit on his head, it's pretty gross. But but he's cool. But yeah, I did, like I said, I didn't like how some of the animation was in the theater, but now watching on here, it didn't. I don't know. I didn't notice it was cleaned up or something. But yeah, it's a good movie. I enjoyed it, and like I said, it's my favorite of these three.
Mm-hmm. Jedi Grand Velle.
You want my honest opinion?
Well, I didn't fucking
Lie
ask
to
for no
us.
reason, did I?
My honest
Lie to
opinion.
me.
Yes. Okay. Well, this was a sheer delight. I went to go see this at midnight showing, and no, this is actually part truth. I went to see this at a midnight showing with my friend. I went to go see it, and I was just like flabbergasted, like, wow, this is something great. It's taking me back to the Shire and all this good stuff and all this. And in the end, when I got through watching, I realized I've been lying to myself. What the fuck am I watching right now? Okay. So that's how I feel. Sorry. I just have to be honest with it.
Well, no. Yeah, honesty is key. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Honesty is
Did you go to the
key.
right movie?
Oh, well, that's the thing about it. I was thinking, like, am I in the right movie? But then I'm like, oh, I see Frodo. I see Sam. I see... Yeah, exactly. It's like, I mean, I see all these people. It's like, okay, they're here. But in the end, it's like, no, this is not my cup of tea here. Sorry. I'm trying to regain the lost world that I left 10 years ago before. And here I'm in this mesh of just, what is this? So,
And he made you watch him again.
Yeah, basically.
Well, fuck you.
Yeah, I know. Hey, anytime,
G-Fest, I'm coming.
I bet.
More than once.
Oh, Lord.
Anyway.
You're not going to be able to take him in the ass.
Yeah, no, naturally.
Anthony, let's get back on track. Your opinion of...
My favorite of the three, saw this midnight showing myself. And like, I did have a blast with it, and I was really impressed with how much of the book they actually they left in the film. And even some of the like extra stuff you see with Gandalf, those are in parts of the book where Gandalf was not on was doing things elsewhere in the book. So I was like, that's kind of cool. It does kind of fold in nicely. There is a license to expand that, and I left the theater optimistic for the other two films, but also wondering, wow, if they got this much of the book in just one movie, how are they going to flush it out to 3 movies? But I was like, I trust Peter Jackson, and well, we'll talk about the other two, but they didn't. It had a good takeoff, but the landing, on the other hand, that's a different story.
There you go.
So, since you brought it up, Anthony Jordan, we're talking about The Hobbit, The Desolation of Smaug. I'll let you take this one.
Well,
Talk a little bit about the plot.
I saw this in the theaters day one again, and funny fact, I still have that poster hanging on a closet door in my bedroom from the movie theater. But it starts off pretty good with a little bit of a flashback, and we get to see more about Thorin in the backstory and the beginning of this quest. And this film, it's basic as it's called, The Desolation of Smaug, and it just that it shows you the desolation. It showed you everything that happened as a result of Smaug taking Erebor, and this is where the film really starts. This trilogy really starts to go downhill because they just expand on characters that were very small parts of the book. They also add in new characters that had no business being here. One in particular, even if I think the actress did a great job, the character had no place or point in this story. And just because now we have to bank in on nostalgia, let's bring in Legolas because everyone loved him, which I love Legolas too, but I've read this story before. He's not in here, and this is just sadly where, like I said, love-hate relationship with all 3 of these movies. I love them, but I have issues. Some of the best stuff we do get in this, and I'll pass it on from here, but it's how we see the closer they get to the mountain, the more obsessed Thorin becomes, and the less like himself he starts acting. Like, I can't say enough good things about the actor that played Thorin.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Also, it feels similar to what they did with Frodo. The more we got closer to Mount Doom, the closer he succumbed to the power of the One Ring. So obviously, the closer that Thorin's getting to Everbore, the more he's like getting obsessed with finding that the crystal, the light, because obviously it's kind of pulling on him. So the plot points that way are very similar, but like you say, they added these extra side plots with obviously the female elf Legolas, who she's like engaged to him, but she doesn't really want to be with him. And Legolas's father's kind of forcing this marriage, but then there's a side story where she falls in love with one of the dwarfs.
Yeah.
And it just out of nowhere.
Yeah, and it's just more side story antics to try and extend the films. And the best part, though, about this movie is the interaction with Smaug and Bilbo Baggins. For me, it's all about that. It's all about them two, in the interaction between them two, in the side story of the White Orc building armies to attack Everbore. So it's very similar to the Two Towers in that sense. So Mr. Tony the Red, your overall thought on the desolation of Smog?
It's okay. I don't know, that town with all the water and that. I didn't really.
Lake Town.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just not as memorable as like any of the other ones. Like this one and the next one are my least watched. Um, even less than Return of the King. But yeah, I remember just walking away from this one just kind of like, because like Anthony said, it's like a downward, like it's starting to go downwards. So like I really love The Hobbit, and then this one it was kind of like it didn't have the same feel. And then like the next one is just kind of like too. But while I was watching Lord of the Rings, it's like, oh, they left you on a cliffhanger, and you couldn't wait a year because you needed to have it. And then it comes out, and I was like, oh, that was great too. Now you got to wait again. And it's like those movies are better because I like the entire cast. I don't want any of them to go. This one, I didn't want any of the dwarves to die, but like at the same time, I didn't care. Like if one of them, it's like okay, but the original trilogy was all. It's like dread from the beginning to the end. It just keeps getting more and more dreadful, and it's more serious. While this is more, it's like I don't really. I guess I'm comparing adventures in a way, and I probably shouldn't do that. But like this one is like it starts off like this is just a simple thing, and it gets worse and worse. While the other one's just bad from the beginning. I don't know, but I do think the dragon is awesome.
No, the Smog's brilliant. He's my favorite part.
Very creepy, like a dragon should be. Not big on dragons that talk though, but I think he looked cool.
Jedi, hit well with it.
Okay, this is going to be a shock to everyone here. This is actually the favorite of the Hobbit films for me. As crazy as that sounds. And like I say, I think it makes up for 4 with the dragon, with Smaug. I mean, I think that, and he's brilliant. And believe it or not, this was motion captured by the actor who voiced him, Benedict Cumberbatch. He did the motion capture for the dragon. So he does a great job in how he's talking about, what, or are you hiding? What do you have to be afraid of? I mean, this dude he's really putting his all in the character. So, that's kind of makes up for the rest of this film. Because as you mentioned before, Legolas is in here and he's not even supposed to be here. It's like, it's not even worth the time putting him in here. But this is actually my favorite that's not saying much, of the 3 Hobbit films. It's crazy as that sounds. So,
well, here's a question. When they show Frodo in the beginning of The Hobbit, was that in the book? Or is that just like another little like...
Frodo wasn't even a thought when he wrote the book. Like there were several years from the first publication of The Hobbit to The Lord of the Rings. And kind of a fun fact to throw this out here, the encounter in the original first edition publication with Bilbo and Gollum was a little different, where Gollum wasn't even trying to kill him with the ring, but it was when he started writing Lord of the Rings, that's when things changed, and the second publication has the version of the story with the more aggressive Gollum we know now.
Oh. Cool. See, now that's an example of it's not in the book, but I did like how they kind of just put Frodo in there real quick. Like, I'm going to go meet, and it's like technically before Gandalf shows up in Lord of the Rings. I like that little prequel kind of thing.
Yeah. like adding Legolas is clearly for fan service. So, for example, if you were only a fan of the movies and don't know the history of the books, how are you going to make sure you're going to entice the fans back who were fans of the original films? You bring Legolas back.
Because if he gets killed, it's like he can't get killed because that's what you're taking away from right there. It's like if he gets killed, it's like he's supposed to be in the Lord of the Rings. How's he gonna get killed when this is the prequel to that story? So
I'll admit I did chuckle at the one gag in the film when they capture the dwarves and he's looking through the belongings and he's like looks at this and he's like, "What is this?" And the one dwarf goes, "Oh, that's my Lee lad Gimli."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and it's a picture of his son who he ends up
becoming
partner
friends
up with in the Lord of the Rings.
Say.
Anthony, your opinion of this film, The Desolation of Smaug?
It's flawed. It's frustrating in place, but the things I love, I really like, and the things I don't like, the more I watch this, I come to just dislike, like the Legolas's father is handled in a completely different way in the book, where here it felt like we needed a minor villain just to make things a little more difficult for them. And the stuff with Lake Town, where it's in the book, it's just handled in a bit of a different way, like the Master of Lake Town, who isn't really mentioned in the book, even though he's a tiny part of it. But once we get to Erebor, Bill sneaking in, the stuff with Smaug gets great, and that final shot of him flying towards Lake Town was great, even if I do have to admit, like Tony said with the previous trilogy, it's like, oh, why do I have to wait? I can't wait another year to the next one. I can't wait another year till the next one. I kind of walked out of the theater. I can't wait to see what happened next. But if I'm being honest, in the for the lead up to it, I kind of forgot the third film was coming out.
Now, we're on to the final movie, which of course is the Battle of the Five Armies, which, like I said before Peter Jackson took over, it was meant to just be two films, which was the Unexpected Journey and Then Back Again. This for me, like the rest of yous, is the weakest of the films. They focus a lot on spectacle. They focus on trying to tie all these stories, like Theoden, Thoron, versus, the White Orc. You then have the love stories, and Legolas getting his heart broken, and then at the end of that film, going off because he gets told by his dad to go to the north and look for Strider, basically introducing him to Aragorn. Bilbo, his story comes to an end where, he helps the elves defeat Smaug and the five armies and goes back to the Shire to live a quiet life again. Thoron, unfortunately, does die not long before regaining the respect of the dwarfs, because the dwarfs started to lose respect in him, not believing in him, and then he kind of pulls him around from being seduced by the power of Erebor and in this, the kingdom of Erebor, and regaining his birthplace and his throne, to then realizing about his people and going up against the White Orc and defending Erebor. The elves, the dwarfs, join forces to take on Asgog, I think is the name of the White Orc, and his armies, who's secretly building forces for Sauron, who's still manipulating things behind the scenes. So it is still like a gateway into the Lord of the Rings, but they do it in a much different, more complicated way, I felt.
Here's something interesting with the Sauron thing. In the book, it does reference this evil presence in Mirkwood, but it doesn't allude to it. And in the book, The Fellowship of the Ring, it is revealed that, yeah, that was where Sauron first re-entered Middle Earth, was in Mirkwood, and that the council did dispel the evil during this time, not realizing that it was Sauron. So that why that is extra stuff. It was also it's in this book, but it's not really in this book because it wasn't explained to the Fellowship of the Ring.
Mm-hmm. Well, when the council faces off against, you see the ring wraith, the Nazgul. You see like the outline of Sauron when Gandalf appears and he finally realizes who the threat is and disappears. And he realizes from that moment on he's going to have to prepare for Sauron's return. And then you have that odd moment where Galadriel, Elrond, and Gandalf go away, but Sauron remains. Not Sauron, Saruman remains. And he looks around and he's like, I will stay. He says something, and that obviously, is the beginning of him being manipulated by Sauron to then join forces with them. So it does, in many ways, a gateway and links up with the event of the Lord of the Rings.
You think that he could have like written a name for Sauron and Saruman, like something that doesn't sound almost the same?
Well, he you gotta keep in mind, Tolkien was also a linguist, and he actually put a lot of thought into the names and the meaning behind those. So I'm sure that was I get where you're coming from, and a part of me does agree with it. Like there was some like deeper meaning behind why they had these names.
Yeah, they're very.
I keep wanting to say sauerkraut sometimes too.
I will say too, like when you look at the writing for Elrond in these films, like in the Lord of the Rings trilogy, he's more calm, collective, and like understanding. Where in these films, like some of the dialogue, it just makes him feel more pig-headed at times.
Mm-hmm. Can we also say this though about Peter Jackson, the respect he had for Christopher Lee? Christopher Lee got to a certain age where he couldn't travel.
Yeah.
So what he ended up doing, he actually built the sets in London. So the entire council fight against the ring wraiths in Mirkwood at that hidden, the secret hidden temple that you get to, was actually all filmed in London. And there was obviously a stand-in stunt double for Christopher Lee. They did things where you could do the odd bend and movement with the staff and that, but everything else was done by a stunt double or a lookalike Christopher Lee. But that's because he was that adamant he wanted Christopher Lee to be in these films, because Christopher Lee not only has met J.R.R. Tolkien, the writer of the book, he was a huge fan of these books. Christopher Lee used to read these books once a year, every year. And actually, they say when he knew he was coming to the end of his life, the last month or so, he read the books again. And it's very, very rare that somebody who was a fan of a book, who was in the army, who fought for his country, who then became an actor, who is legitimately a fan of J.R.R. Tolkien, would meet the man himself, would actually meet the man who would write James Bond as well. He would then also go on to be a part of the one thing that he had passion for and loved, and actually became a cast member, if not just the Lord of the Rings, but an integral character, Sauron.
You mentioned the author for the James Bond books. I believe they were actually some kind of relation.
I think so. And then, of course, there's another thing. Christopher Lee starred in The Man with the Golden Gun.
Yes, I was going to say, yes.
So he's actually been a part of something else that he knew of.
And also, like, so you mentioned his service in the military. Like, some of the operations he did even at the time of his death, he still wasn't allowed to talk about. So this was a man that's like seen some things and like done some things.
Oh yeah.
He's killed people in the army. There was actually there's a show here in the UK. There was Terry Wogan. Terry Wogan is no longer with us, so he is also passed. Just like you in America, you have like a load of like these late night shows where it's like a host talking to actors and musicians. So Terry Wogan used to do his own show, and Christopher Lee was telling a story where he was in the military, and he was on set doing like a fight sequence, and somebody had a knife, and he's like, "Ah, right, bah, 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 bah." And Christopher Lee, what you doing? He's like, "What you doing?" Goes, "Well, I'm stabbing him. I'm going to stab him." He goes, "Have you ever killed a man?" He went, "Well, no, I haven't." He went, "Well, I have. This is how you stab them." And actually,
I think I've seen that show, if I'm not mistaken.
so he actually showed them how to stab a person. Going, "That's how you kill a man."
Well, even in Return of the King, the scene where Saruman gets stabbed in the back, he like actually explained to Peter Jackson, he's like, "This is the sound a person would make when they were stabbed in the back." And he's like, "All I'm going to say is I served in British intelligence during the Second World War, and I'm still not allowed to talk about some of the stuff I know. So don't ask me how I know how it really sounds, but I know."
Right.
Literally, there's a lot of amazing actors and amazing people I respect in this world and industry, but Christopher Lee will always be somebody I've got real respect for. What a life that man led. He, military service, became an actor, played Dracula,
even played Frankenstein, believe it or not.
Yeah, played Frankenstein, James Bond, Lord of the Rings. He's a massive part of my childhood. Star Wars, a massive part of my childhood. So nothing but respect for Christopher Lee.
And from what I understand, even though he really didn't have a swelled head, if he was someone that everything he's done, if he did, he would have deserved it.
Yeah.
And another thing, in his 80s, he was a fan of heavy metal. At 8-year-old, he released a heavy metal album.
That's right. Yeah.
I didn't know that. That's pretty cool. That's pretty hardcore.
Yes, but going back to the 5 armies, Walt, I will start with you. Overall thought of the 3rd movie in the Hobbit series.
All I'll say is that we mentioned before, it's kind of the least of the 3, and even though Small gets killed, he was probably the better part of the movie. But after that, when they get to the battle of the 5 armies, it's like, yeah, okay, I mean, it's nothing like what we see in Mirror's Tirith. I mean, that's a battle. This one here is like, I kind of fell asleep on it, to tell you the truth. So I mean, all in all, it was just, yeah. That's how I feel about it.
I think probably the same. Like the first half of the movie where it's Smaug attacking Lake Town, brilliant. And once that ends, it kind of slows down. Like unlike what you call it, the Return of the King, where it's like a nice steady pace, and all characters have the fight. This for me didn't have the same feels for me.
Yeah, and this is the shortest of all the all the Middle Earth films. I mean, it's the shortest of the films.
It felt for me
additives too.
Yeah, it felt a bit underwhelming. That's the only way I could describe it. Tony, your feelings on?
Yeah, same way. I feel like you guys do. It's not like I didn't feel like at the end of this one like I did at the end of Return of the King. Like it's maybe a little sad, but like I don't know, the ending wasn't as good. And I feel like watching well, like except for the exception of the Hobbit, like the second one and the third one here, it's like me. I want to go back and watch the Amazon show, the Lord of the Rings one. Was it
Rings of Power.
I want to go back and watch that, but like it's not really grabbing me at the time. Like I started watching a little bit. I'm like, I'm not really into this right now. But like I enjoy. I don't know. It has to everything to do with like liking characters in that, and sometimes there's just not enough.
One thing I'll say about Ring of Power, the first series is a mixed bag. The second series ups everything by 10. The second series is brilliant.
Oh, okay.
The second series blows the first series out the water, and I'm looking forward to the third one.
I'll take your word for it. It's on my list.
Anthony Jordan.
It's definitely my least favorite. I will say, if there is one compliment I can give this film, it's the one scene with Thorin with the dragon sickness where he's walking on the gold walkway and you see that shadow of Smaug underneath him. Like that effect combined with his performance is brilliant, but it's, again, this is the most frustrating one. Like, I was actually looking forward to, in the book, there's a scene where it's a thrush that reveals to Bard the weakness of Smaug. And like, I remember being annoyed when I realized that wasn't going to be here, even though the thrush was teased at the end of the first movie. The overuse of CGI just got exhausting in this one. Because by the end, even now when I watch the Lord of the Rings trilogy, the Battle of Helm's Deep, Pelennor Fields, I can't peel my eyes off the screen. When I
agree.
This one, I'm like on my phone doing other things because just the overuse of CGI and how much more over the top they made the battle, along with the needless comedy. It's like I get bored with it. This is just, it's the weakest of all the Peter Jackson Middle Earth films, and it's proof that it should have just been 2 movies. I really think a skilled editor can edit out all the fluff of these 2 movies, combine them into 1 movie, and you'll have a much stronger movie for it. But yeah, not a very good finale and not a good last outing for in the theater.
Yeah. Couldn't agree more, Anthony. But I still enjoy The Hobbit in my own way, shape, and form. I still can watch them and enjoy them. I just don't think they're as good as The Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
It's the same feeling as when you watch the original Star Wars trilogy. I can appreciate the prequels, but now nothing's going to beat the original trilogy. But now we've got the sequel trilogy with Star Wars. Guess what? I appreciate the prequels more.
Yes. Seriously, we do.
So God help when they release The Hunt for Gollum.
I didn't know about that.
Yeah.
Andy Serkis directing.
Oh. I can't say how great he is too.
He's a good director.
He's a better actor than most people give him credit for, I feel.
But I think he's a decent director as well.
Yeah.
But I will say this: he wanted it. The Hunt for Gollum was going to be 1 movie. It's now going to be 2.
Okay.
With the first one coming out in 2027.
Wow. Why does it have to be 2 movies?
Because it's Gollum and Smeagol. There's 2 people. Maybe that's what they're going for.
And it's a prequel to the original.
Directed and want to be more Smeagol.
So all I know is it's going to be a sequel. Sorry, a prequel. So basically, it's a prequel. So basically, what I've heard is it's a side prequel. It's going to be the events of Gollum in between The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings.
That makes sense.
So we know what happened to him.
2 hours of him melting.
Yeah. Like precious.
Mhm. So I've got a little bit of faith in it because it's Andy Serkis, but we can't really say anything more until we see a trailer or any sort of information. I do know that Ian McKellen is returning. There's rumour that Elijah Wood is returning, but who knows?
But I mean, Ian McKellen, man, he's in his late 80s now. I mean,
Elijah Wood is closer to Ian McKellen's age when they filmed the Lord of the Rings trilogy than he is to his age when they filmed the Lord of the Rings trilogy.
But remember what we've already mentioned. That look at the respect they showed Christopher Lee.
yeah,
They built sets on a soundstage just for Christopher Lee, so he could film his scenes for the film. So I'm assuming they're going to do the same for Ian McKellen. And also, just because he's 80 doesn't mean he's not active. Like,
that's true.
He's also going to be in the next of it. He's in Avengers Doomsday.
I was going to say he's going to be in that film. Yes.
So and he was actually on set on location. So he obviously is well enough to travel, but depends where he's traveling. Will he be well enough to travel? The distance to New Zealand, which is nearly 2 days travel. It's a different scenario. But anyway, this has been the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit discussion. I've had great fun listening to you guys and your opinions and all of that. But let the audience know what is coming to your channels. We'll start with Anthony Jordan.
Well, tomorrow I'm going to be on this man here, Jedi Grand Vale, his channel. We are going to be discussing favorite Godzilla soundtracks. I also have my review of The Return of Godzilla set to premiere tomorrow. And although this originally wasn't the way I was going to do it, the person I wanted to do this video with, he can't make it. So I'm going to be, before Christmas time, I'm going to be uploading a review and completing my Gundam Wing retrospective 30th anniversary with my reveal of Endless Waltz. In addition to that, these are on your channel, so I'll let you handle these, but I got a few more appearances coming up on the entertainment headquarters, one of which
you sure have
from now.
Cool.
Yeah. So since he's mentioned it, I'll let you know what's coming to the entertainment headquarters. So my next event is going to be on the 17th of December. Me, Mr. Anthony Jordan, are joined by Thrash Pandupans and Mr. DJ Anubis on the Retro Classic Movie Show, where we're going to be talking about the Back to the Future trilogy. So that's going to be fun. But then on the 20th of December, I can't end the year without talking about the Guardian of the Universe, Gamera himself. It's his 60th anniversary, so I want to celebrate him before the end of the year because he deserves it. He needs more attention because Dai are a bunch of dicks that don't really know how to celebrate and actually promote the property when they should. And finally, on the 23rd of December, I'm going to be meeting up again with Mr. Anthony Jordan, DJ Anubis, and DJ Neko when I do me recording, and it'll be up later that day, of me next Christmas special, which is going to be Scrooged in Edward Scissorhands.
Nice.
So,
Into the Darkness too, right?
oh yeah, I forgot we've also got Into the Darkness. I think, is that the 19th on the Friday?
Yeah, 19th.
Yeah, that I forgot. Good job you mentioned that. I totally forgot about it. So the Into the Darkness special on the 19th is going to be The Shining and Doctor Sleep.
That's right.
Yeah, and I think Mr. Tony the Dead's on that one with us.
Which one is that on the 19th?
Yes, it's The Shining and Doctor Sleep at 6 p.m. UK time.
Yeah, I think I'm on. I think I'm. Yes, it's hard. It's hard now because the kids and the in-laws are gone. They can't watch them. So, but
Yeah.
I think they're in school when we're going to be on. So I should be good.
Oh, cool. So, Mr. Tony the Dead, what's coming to your channel?
Well, uh, just uploaded the latest Ghouls episode. It's spoiler heavy. It's the new Silent Night, Deadly Night 2025. So go into it if you don't care about spoilers. Let's see. I guess your thing on the 19th with the Doctor Sleep and Shining. I never saw Doctor Sleep, so I'll be watching it for that.
If you're just a tip, if you're gonna, since it's gonna be your first time, just go in with the extended cut because it does fill in some things that were left out in the theatrical.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to say it's for your first time, just take it easy.
Because the theatrical one was all like 2.5 hours, and the third and the other extended is like 3. So
it's stuff that's actually like needed.
Yeah. I will do that. I probably would have did that anyway. I usually always go through the extended cut if I, heck, I can.
Yeah.
Other than that,
I figured that was just like I'm just giving you the heads up because if it came to time and you just had to go with the theatrical, I'm like, let's just give you the heads up to just make sure you make time for the extended cut.
Oh, I will.
Nice.
The only other thing I have is I started, besides my white trash channel, which I still upload once in a while on there, just kind of fun things. I'm trying to do more of these AI videos for it that I program what it's, just something instead of a picture. So I'm trying to do that. But then I also started another one because on Sora, I put a lot of myself in like these inspired trailers for things. So I started another little channel it's called Mr. Tony of the AI. And it's just going to be all me in the trailers and stuff, like all my face and that and those. So
if you like this guy's face, check it out.
There you go.
Yeah. I'm on an anaconda, a gorilla. I'm also hunting the predator in several of them.
If you done a one about since when you had Christmas, you need to do a Krampus one.
I have a Krampus.
Or
I think I have a thing with Krampus fighting Santa.
Have one with you with Clark and Christmas Vacation.
Oh yeah, I gotta do that one.
Yeah.
I have one
because I know you did. I know you did a Krampus song on White Trash.
Yeah.
So I've listened to that. I like that. That's a good song. I like that.
Krampus stomp, Krampus snot, stomp, whatever that word is.
Yeah.
That's all pretty much going on.
Well, that's a lot of cool stuff, Tony.
Thank you.
And finally, Mr. Jedi Velle, what's coming to Jedi Velle's productions?
I got really nothing. I really got nothing going on coming up. In fact, when I leave from here, I'm going to do my Cradle to the Grave review with D Film Fanatic and a special Mr. It's guessing on there. Tomorrow, as Anthony had mentioned, we will be discussing with another fellow, and I think you're going to be on there too, Kevin, if I'm not mistaken.
I'm gonna
try
put together a list of my top 10 favorite Godzilla scores. That is correct.
That's what we're going to be discussing. Our top 10 favorites. And if 98 is on one of the lists, hey, that's fine because hey,
come with me, motherfucker.
Yeah, right.
Come with me.
Right.
Oh my god.
Oh god. But also later that week, I am going to be. I think Anuba says he's going to join up with me, where we're going to be discussing 10 of the most iconic Godzilla moments in cinema history because there are many of them, and I'm pretty sure he got himself a so-called list. I will have mine, but when you see it, you'll be like, "Oh, really? That's more iconic than this." It's like it's going to be that. And that Saturday, which you aforementioned, the Gamera 60th anniversary birthday. That I gotta be there for. That's just got to be there for that.
We've got to end the year by celebrating the Guardian of the Galaxy with
That's
this.
it.
That's pretty
the
young for a
Guardian,
turtle.
yeah, Guardian of the Universe. Fuck that. That fucking Guardian of the Galaxy is something else.
When you said that
But,
at first, I thought you were talking about Guardians of the Galaxy. I was like,
Yeah,
is there
yeah.
another
He was
movie
the
coming out?
He was the first Guardians.
Yes, he was the one that set them up.
Yeah.
But anyway, Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings, Peter Jackson's The Hobbit trilogy, still iconic in my eyes. Obviously, The Hobbit isn't as great as The Lord of the Rings, but it still has a place in my heart. It's been a fantastic talking about these two trilogies with these amazing guests. Please like, share, and subscribe to Anthony Jordan's Movie and Gaming, Mr. Tony the Dead, Jedi Granville Productions, and if you want, you can throw the Entertainment Headquarters a like, share, and subscribe as well. But there's more great content coming before the end of the year, and I've got so much planned for 2026. So I'm looking forward to it. Thank you for watching, and like I always say, please keep enjoying your movies, keep on enjoying all things entertainment, and I'll catch us all at the next one.